You know, it's no secret I'm a Scout guy, and I'm fortunate enough to live next to some of the best guys in the country. Let's go meet Levi. He's a premier Scout builder, and he's doing some incredible work. He's a really, really neat guy.
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up?
How we doing?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Kind of the history with Scouts for me is a little different than a lot of people. You know, a lot of people you hear like their dad had one, their grandpa, whatever. I was actually trying to find something that would keep me out of trouble at a younger age, and my dad and I just happened into seeing a Scout on the side of the road. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what is this thing? And Dad's like, oh, that's an old International Scout. So we stopped and looked at it, and I ended up with it, and now here we are 20 years later.
So what year was that one?
I think it was a 71. It was rough. It was terrible. I attempted to put floors in it, did rocker panels, and like learned all the things about how not to do metal work on that one. And then once I realized that I'd pretty much butchered it, I ended up blowing the engine up and sold it and moved on to something else. Scouts in particular definitely have my heart, but I think with anything old, like before the idea of like planned obsolescence, like you could, you know, literally back in the day, you could completely rebuild a water pump, you know, every little piece, and just the durability, the ruggedness, all of it.
All right, so what is the masterpiece that is behind you right now?
Oh, that is, that's Mr. Yogi. We've owned Yogi for probably, man, I'd have to look back. I've probably owned Yogi for 8 or 9 years total, and it's just been a slow project and has kind of came to fruition over the last, we've been driving him for probably 2 or 3 years now, I think.
And it's a travel-all, right?
Traveler,
excuse me. And were they 18 inches longer?
18
is that what it is?
Yeah,
Okay, so what's the chassis that those were built on? It's not a Scout chassis, right?
Yeah. Believe it or not, they just clipped them and added a piece into them. It's pretty sketchy how they.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. They literally lobbed the chassis in half and they built like this extension piece, and everything's the same. Yep.
Okay, so what's the story on how you found it or bought it?
So this one wasn't like really anything special. We were kind of in between Scouts. I'd daily driven Scouts or Internationals for probably 20 years. I was actually in between Scouts and I was kind of actively looking. One day I was on Facebook Marketplace and this thing popped up in Virginia. Actually, it was just north of Bristol. And it was a college kid. I could tell by the pictures it was solid. And I think he was asking like $5,000 for it. And I just sent him a message. It was like, you know, real story, like what's it take to buy this truck? And he said, man, my college tuition's due. He's like, if you can come up with like $1,500, you can have it. I was like, I got a buddy in Bristol with a trailer. He'll be there in 20 minutes. It was pretty bad. Like the whole exterior had been rolled with house paint. The back glass, it didn't have back glass in it. It had like some wood panels scabbed in there. It was pretty butchered when I got it, but it did actually run and drive. We wanted a rig that we could drive and explore and adventure, and maybe not like hardcore off-road, but if we got into that situation, it was capable. So over a period of 5 years, we started out with a 1-ton axle swap, got that buttoned up. We ran the original engine transmission until it died. We ended up swapping in a 6-liter LQ9 4L80E MP205. So yeah, any remnants of anything that was Internationals long gone, except for the body. Don't get me wrong, I love International engines. I love popping a hood. I love seeing the factory red engine. Like people mistake like where I'm at in this industry as far as like we do a ton of LS swaps, but I also love restoring and refreshing. There's one on the stand over there that we've got to redo for a guy. I've actually got an 800 coming in that we're putting another 260, actually a 304 back in an 800. So we do keep the original engines in them a lot of times. This truck, I scaled it. It had drawer slide outs and a rooftop tent or 12-volt fridge. It weighed right around 7,000 pounds. With a non-overdrive transmission and the stock 345, even fuel injected, like that's asking a lot out of that. Particularly the 727. It was unhappy because we also drive it on the interstate. Like we might jump. Oh man, it was bad. Yeah, it was screaming on the interstate. So we started looking at overdrive transmissions, and it just didn't make sense to do an electronically controlled overdrive transmission. So it was just like, we'll we'll put a 6-liter in it, plenty of power, and do what we want it to.
All right, we gonna take it for a ride? Let's go. Okay. Yogi, let's go. So what are the future plans with this? I mean, is there any?
Drive it. There's always tinkering
Always
and stuff to do, but yeah, for the most part, it functions.
Would you ever sell this truck?
It would take a stupid amount of money. Like somebody would have to want it way worse than I do.
So it means more to you than what the money would bring.
Yeah, at this, well, and I'm finally at a point in my life where like, I'm not wealthy, I'm not rich, but I don't need money. You know what I'm saying? So the enjoyment that I get out of it is worth more than money at this point in my life.
If you were to kind of start over again now, would you do it the same way?
I think there's always changes and things that you would do differently. I mean, like throughout, that's part of building trucks is like the evolution and the, like you gain a new skill and you see things that you would do differently. I mean, generally the platform would stay the same, but I mean, there's little things that I would change probably.
Do you get the nice Bronco stuff?
Yeah, oh yeah, and I don't even correct people anymore. I'm just like, thanks man, appreciate it.
I gotta go.
Yeah. So in the 345, we were getting like 10, 9.
Okay.
This one, when I figured it, I was figuring it by the speedometer and the odometer, and I was only getting 11. But I realized that the speedometer's off.
Because the tires.
Right. Then I recalculated it, and I'm actually getting like 12 now.
Hey.
So I'll take it. For 12 mile per gallon is an improvement, and I've got all the power on tap that I need. Yeah. So.
Well, this thing is awesome, man. I appreciate you doing this. This is awesome.
Nah, no worries.
This sounds good.
We'll run it.
With the Yogi, how did you get the name? Where did that come from?
So, actually, my buddy Mike Moore, he was joking around. He was making some kind of like, I don't even know. He was talking trash. He said something about your truck, your boo-boo truck or something. I was like, bro, you just named my truck. I was like, that's Yogi.
That's
and
hilarious.
He actually made me the sticker.
He made you the sticker too?
Yeah. So the truck's Yogi, and then the teardrop's boo-boo. So
that's right. You have a teardrop trailer.
Yeah.
Did you sleep in that thing?
Oh yeah.
Does it have all the comforts in it or no?
It doesn't have AC, but it's got like a max air fan in it. So yeah, it's got a refrigerator. We've got 18 gallons of water capacity. We've got hot water. We've got stove. Like you can fridge, freezer. We can live out of it. Okay. Yeah.
Can we see what's under? Can you pop the hood?
Yeah.
Let's see. Wow, it looks good, man.
Yeah. We did used all our own mounts that we cut in house. When I purchased the CNC plasma table, like when I did this one, I wanted to be able to duplicate it repeatedly. So I spent a lot of time mocking everything up, getting measurements, and made this fan shroud for them. We've got pretty much everything now. We can just push play on the plasma table, and we can have an LS swap package blasted out.
The natural AC in these things is no top, but this is a little difficult, right, with the Traveler?
Yeah, I'm
never take it off?
I'm not much on taking tops off on these anyway. Honestly, like on an SS or something that really wasn't designed for a top, I would not run one, but it's kind of a structural point. I think a lot of times on these bodies as they get old and kind of saggy, the top kind of helps hold stuff together sometimes, I think. And plus it's a pain to lift it on and off.
Yeah, you need 4 or 5 guys to do it.
Yeah.
Is this a Scout 2 tailgate?
Yeah. Yep.
And then you just, okay.
I just clipped it down and then put a support in there.
Is that so you can kind of sit on this now like a...
Yeah, just the hatch is heavy and kind of crappy, and it's nice to have a tailgate to do prep and stuff. We've got the ladder to climb in. So before, when this had a rooftop tent on it, this had full drawer slides. It had a full 100 amp hour house battery in it. Like you could literally live out of this truck before we had the teardrop. But once we got the teardrop, I just took all that stuff out of it. So
you running Corbos?
Yeah, Corbeau. I'm actually a dealer for Corbeau. I've been running Corbeau seats for a lot of years.
Are they that much more comfortable?
Oh yeah, suspension seats are where it's at. Those, you don't fatigue, they hold you in. But yeah.
Did you build this cage?
I did, yep. Wow. Full 6-point cage. Keep all our spares. Even for the LS, we carry like crank sensor, cam sensor, oil, fluids, all that good stuff. Like I said, we get out in some pretty remote areas, man. Sometimes breaking down is part of the adventure though. So.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really any common issues, anything like, I don't know, people People talk about, scouts rust and rot and blah, 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 blah. The fact of the matter is that they don't really rot any worse than anything else out there. I mean, early Broncos were notorious. The thing with these is it's not a catalog car. In a catalog car, I mean, you can't just, order a firewall for it. It's just, and the production numbers were a ton lower too. So, apples to apples, like if you compared the same number of Ford early Broncos to Scouts, like I'm saying that they would be equally as rusty or whatever. I mean, they do have their own little quirks and issues, but it's nothing that anything else doesn't. So not just that truck, but I think internationals in general. Like we had, obviously my wife and I we've had some really cool trips in it. The Outer Banks, we did a trip up the Outer Banks in it. We went to Virginia, bombed around George Washington National Forest, Shenandoah Valley. We've been all the way to the coast with it, which was about 9 hours. And then up into Virginia, I think Virginia, we ended up getting like, it was a 14-hour drive home by the time that trip was over. So yeah, we're not scared to use it.
Not scared.
Yeah.
And so you do a lot of fabrication here too.
Yeah.
What is your favorite part about that?
Just the design and seeing something come from nothing. We typically don't do renderings. Like I like the idea of the customer giving me whatever their thoughts and ideas and what their planned use of the vehicle is, and then me, building this vehicle that's in my head and seeing it kind of come to light. And there's definitely stages throughout the build where I hate it. I'm like, I hate this truck. I'm tired of it. But then the first time I jump in it and actually get to rip it down the road and it functions and does what it's supposed to, I always fall in love with them. I wanted to build a dedicated rock crawler, and honestly, the intentions of this thing is to hopefully go to Ultimate Adventure on 2024 if I can get accepted. It's always been like I grew up watching Ultimate Adventure for like past 20 years. I've been watching it, and it's always been kind of a dream. So the idea was to build something just ridiculously capable. But the thing with Ultimate Adventure is it needs to be able to do road miles. You need to be able to drive it on the road, and you need to be able to conquer trails. So this is that, hopefully. So.
And you went with the 4.3 here.
4.3, yeah. The idea with the 4.3 was not a lot of power to hurt anything. We're trying to get everything done with gearing. We've got a 4-to-1 gear set in the transfer case. We've got 513 gears in the axles. And then I'm an idiot, so at some point I decided I want more power than the 4.3, so we're gonna put a turbo on it. Yeah. So, over building these trucks over 20 years, I kind of had this idea of what I wanted in my head, and this is hopefully gonna be it.
Very cool. And this is the customer's, right?
It is, yeah. It belongs to a guy out of Texas. But yeah, he sent it to us for an LS swap. We've done Gen 4, 6-liter Tremec TR 4050 trans, and full chassis, suspension, Dana 44 axle swap. We put a cage in it. We did pretty much everything but rust repair and paint. So this is kind of the stuff that we do a lot of high-end Florestos, but this is the stuff that I like. I actually had some local guys from Nashville, 615 Club. We hosted an event here. It started out as trucks and trails and just kind of evolved into harvesters and hauler. But starting off, I basically needed, like, the financial side of it was a little bit scary. Like, I didn't just want to pour out a ton of money, and regardless of obviously we expected to lose money, but and it wasn't necessarily about money, but I actually reached out to a couple of buddies, Mike and Randy, and was like, look, this is my idea. If you guys would be willing to share equally in the loss of money with me, I would greatly appreciate it, because it's easier for 3 guys to lose $1,000 a piece than one guy to lose 3. So they jumped in and they lent a hand, and it's grown into. So the first year, I guess we could say the first year when it started here with the 615 guys, the Trucks and Trails, which is an event that they'd been putting on previously, but I just decided to host it and feed them and all that good stuff. I think we had 35 trucks total. So the next year we did it at a local event out in Crab Orchard, or a local venue out in Crab Orchard, and we ended up with I want to say 60 internationals. The following year, once it kind of evolved into the harvesters and the hauler, 170 registered vehicles or 80 registered vehicles, and then I think last year we were up around 115, 120 total registered vehicles. We just wanted to put together something different. Like, we didn't want like the typical like car show vibe. Like, we wanted a place, like, it's not even a show and shine. We don't care if you show up with your truck dirty, like, don't wash it. Like, if you want to wash it, wash it, whatever. But we want people to actively get out. Like, we do a scavenger hunt. Like, we want people to actively get out and use their vehicle make memories. It's a weekend-long event, so we hang out. We're working on gearing it more a lot, like trying to have some events and stuff for kids. We want it to be like a cut loose family event where everybody can have a good time and enjoy the trucks, and focus more on using the vehicles, making memories, and community, like getting to know one another instead of being like segregated and kind of standoffish where nobody talks. Like we don't. We want everybody to have a good time with each other.